A Colorado Eagles equipment manager is on administrative leave after pictures surfaced of him at a party wearing blackface. Tony Denizer showed up to a Halloween party in 2011 dressed in blackface, imitating a black player on the hockey team. Team issued an apology today, but that player, Akeem Alou, says racist incidents like that one have hurt his career in pro hockey. 9 News reporter Mark Salinger spoke to representatives for Alou, and Mark, they said that apology, if you can call it that, doesn't fix what happened.
Yeah, Kyle, Akeem Alou says he was invited to that party in 2011, but told to come late. When he showed up, the head equipment manager was dressed in blackface, wearing a jersey with his number on it and his nickname on the back. The picture from 8 years ago shows then Colorado Eagles player Akeem Alou posing next to head equipment manager Tony Denizer. Representatives for Alou say the player was pressured by people at the party to take the picture and felt he had no choice. He didn't smile. Denizer wore a jersey with the word Dreamer stitched on the back, Alou's nickname. It was so traumatizing he asked for a trade soon after. It was denied. Nearly a decade later, Alou is telling his story, and the Eagles are apologizing. In a statement, the team wrote in part, "We wholeheartedly seek your forgiveness and sincerely apologize. We are truly very sorry." Alou most recently played for the Orlando Solar Bears in the minor leagues and still coaches children. He's also become a leader, speaking out against racism in hockey. 2 years before the Halloween party, another coach on a different team used a racial slur against Alou. Bill Peters went on to become the coach of the Calgary Flames and left the team last month after Alou spoke out about what happened.
It's something that needs to be spoken about, and thankfully he's come forward, and Calgary removed Peters from his coaching post.
Alex Ryan-Emmy hosts a hockey radio show on Altitude and coaches a youth hockey team. He says the problem is far too common in all levels of the sport.
What the big guys do, the little guys do, whether they're good things or bad things, and unfortunately they have both good role models and they also have bad role models.
Years after a party left him wondering if hockey was welcoming to him, Alou wants to be that positive role model, speaking out to end racism in the sport he loves. Denizer was put on leave by the Avalanche today, who the Eagles are affiliated with. No word yet on whether that is paid leave or whether an investigation has been launched into his conduct. This incident happened before the two teams became affiliates. The Eagles have not responded to our request for an interview. Kyle.
Anybody who's ever read a comment section or opened emails to a newsroom know there's lots of people who love to defend blackface, and they'll say, well, he's standing right next to the guy in the photo. He couldn't have been that offended.
Well, I talked to people who know Alou well, and they say that he felt as though he was pressured into taking this picture, that he had no other choice because everybody at the party was telling him that he had to do it.
All right, Mark Salinger, thank you.